relationship. I am from India, so you can call me Naga. Naga. Yeah. Naga. Yeah. Dragon in Bahasa. I think you approved.
Good evening. My name is Tu. I'm from Vietnam, and thank you very much for your presentation. We also see that you are a former lecturer because your presentation is good. Now, a lot of
inspiring with all of my classmates. Over the last few days, we've seen the vibrant energy in Jakarta. I think under your leadership and your team.
Allow me on behalf of the city of Jakarta to present to you a motion of appreciation.
I just want to say it's an honor to have this time to ask this question, and it's my first time in Jakarta. Beautiful, resilient city, and I just want to hear your thoughts as a city leader. And part of being a city leader is to be a visionary, I would say. To think of the city not just in terms of what it is right now, and to solve the tackle the issues of what it is right now, but to think 5, 10 years, 20 years ahead. And I just want to ask this question, pose this question to you. As a city leader, and if you were to have the chance to kind of reset Jakarta again, and to kind of be a part of the master builder of the master plan, the blueprint of Jakarta, what would you have done differently? Besides the traffic flow, I think, but what would you have done differently to promote, to include long-winded solutions for poverty, equality, all these different factors that make the city resilient and strong? What would you do different in that?
there's a hand at the back now. Yeah, you've got the mic.
Good evening, I am from India, so you can call me Naga. Naga. Yeah.
Naga.
Yeah. Dragon in Bahasa. I think you have proved to be a professor of great experience because you have completed your lecture in 40 minutes and then you showed a design process and design thinking and went to the statistics. My question is at the two levels. First at the ASEAN level, which I have been thinking about it from the past 3 days. India is the largest democracy in the world. Of course, it will be the largest democracy in Asia as well. But when I meet my friends from ASEAN region, I was wonderstruck that my fellow participants, were not taking name of India in any examples. Like they referred Indonesia, they referred Kuala Lumpur, there is Malaysia and others. But so then I question myself that India as a country, as a democracy, has not been able to impress upon the ASEAN region. And you did in the start of your speech mention about India as a sole country coming up. So what do you think that India could have done better to impress upon the ASEAN countries, in your view, of course? And second question is on the Jakarta itself. We have seen a lot of technocrats running the show in Jakarta. For the past 3 days we met Park Anwar, and then today at the MRT we met Agud, and we are meeting in person here yourself. So we see that somewhere the technocrats come in, but back in India also technocrats have come in certain period of time, but then it is not a continuous process because politics is not so simple. So what is that we have to do to keep the flow of technocrats in the administration of a city or a country?
Good evening. My name is Tu. I'm from Vietnam, very much for your presentation. We also see that you are a former lecturer because your presentation is you have a lot of knowledge in that. I have two questions. The first is not related to the smart city, but to your English language. The first time I did top level country leader do not use national language, but the English language to address to the international audience. Yes. Yeah. So I would like to ask, is this compulsory for leaders in your country to use English for the international audience like this? The second question is, when you make a list of the problems in Jakarta, the first is poverty. No. The first is traffic. The second is jobs, and the third is yes. And we all see that it's material problems. And how about the mental health? And I know that last year the UK government they designed a new Ministry of Loneliness for the people. So should we think about the mental health in this smart city era? Thank you.
Eric was on the list. I think he was for this, but not specifically. Okay, you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I will be brief. You mentioned that 30% of the population are living in poverty, so would be vulnerable to exploitation. And in 2030, we expect 70% of the population will be in Jakarta itself. Yes, overall. And so, Your Excellency, I was thinking more about your career in education and culture, and with a leadership role as well. And what are your thoughts on a culture of, because so many issues to tackle, but then a culture of peace. Looking at, as a peace practitioner myself, my background in peace and conflict studies, and what would be your leadership for peace, for diversity appreciation? And as you mentioned, your campaign is a very spirited campaign, and in 2019 we were told that, repeatedly we heard that Jakarta, Indonesia's year for elections, and so a spirited campaign is expected, and so what would be your vision for that, to create this culture?
It feels like going through a doctoral exam. A few years ago I did pass, so hopefully I pass this one again. Yeah, that's what I said. Ben, what would you have done it differently? Had you lived here, been present in Jakarta long ago? This city celebrated its 497 anniversary, so it's been here for some time. But if I could, structure, I would have imagined that city will dominate world populations. If I imagine city will dominate world populations, then I will structure, again, basic structure that reflect that we will have more and more people to live in the cities. So, number one, for example, the way you map the street. In Indonesia, in Java especially, there is one city in which the city planning was considered outstanding long ago. The name of the city is Yogyakarta. Do you get an opportunity to visit Jakarta? Yes. Oh yeah. If you come to that city, the city planning itself, it started with, it's called one place called Tugu. Tugu is a, how do you translate Tugu? Monument. A monument in the sense that it's like a tower. A tower monument. There is an intersection. And from there, you draw the city. And then you have three rivers coming in. And then you put ask for directions. For example, you meet someone and say, where should I take the road to go to the mall, for example? They will not be saying, go straight, turn left, turn right. They will not be saying that. They say, go to the north, turn to the left, to the east, and then go to the south, go to the west. Everyone has a map. Everyone has a compass in their mind. So they don't say turn right and left. Everyone's speaking as if they have a compass in their mind. That's only in that city. If you go to other city, you won't find that one. I grew up in that city. So I had the experience, and we didn't realize it's now the education city of Indonesia, that's Jogja. So in that particular place, in terms of special planning, Jakarta didn't start with that. Jakarta started as a coastal region and grows to the south. And there was not really a plan to assume that Jakarta will host 10 million people as an estimate. So that's number one. Number two, as soon as we started, make sure basic services are there. Water, that's number one. If the city government doesn't think about access to clean water, then how could the city survive? So if I would have been the mayor 50, 60 years ago, I would have said, making sure that access to clean water is everywhere. The government created infrastructure for clean water everywhere. But since we are assuming we live in the rural area, we can build a well everywhere, then we're not worried. Because here in Indonesia, we're so blessed. And I think in Southeast Asia, generally we're blessed. That anywhere we dig for a well, we found water, right? So this is the region that is so blessed. But if you go to the Middle East, you go to Europe, you won't find that. And only in this area that you have that. So number three is critical. Is focus on the human capital development, health, education. So basic services on health and education. If that's done, then we'll create empowered citizens, and then that's all. Then they can grow and will create university and so forth. So since I could not go back to 50 years ago, so we're doing it now. Better late than never. And then Naga. How can India impress ASEAN? I think in India, it's really impressive anyway. Don't underestimate yourself. We have been so impressed of India. When I served as Minister of Education, the first country I officially visited as Minister of Education was India. Yeah. You know, Minister of Education from the Philippines, Father Luis. I think so, Father Luis. He was sitting next to me in a conference. And then he said, Manis, I often have a big headache about the education challenges here in the Philippines. And then I look at you and I feel so good. You have bigger problems in Indonesia. And then I said, oh, well, I looked at my next the guy is the Minister of Education from India. You know? And I feel good looking at the challenges of India. Because in India you have the students is more than 300 millions, and then the teachers is more than 50 millions. And then I said, wow, the scale of complications, and yet you're seeing the brightest technocrats in that country. So I came to visit with our team to exchange for ideas, and you have great ideas. So if you're looking for a more complex challenge and find bright minds in the bureaucracy, come to India. You'll experience that. The technocrats, the bureaucrats out there were committed. The challenge is more of the size. But in terms of policy directions, in terms of content, I think India is impressive. And I think we should, you don't underestimate India. You have been impressive. But now, I think India needs also look to the east more than to the west. India itself spent too much time looking to the west and less to the east. Bring back the old India that is looking to the east. We have these collaborations of people in this archipelago with people of India for centuries. And we need to rebuild that. And I think by doing that, exchanges of experience, I learned a lot from that visit. And we brought some of our brightest technocrats along, and a very productive discussion, and then great follow-ups after that. So, a lot can be learned. And with regard to democracy, I'll talk more on the democracy linked to your questions. And then, for the flow of technocrats, this is also one challenge. That political process that is happening in many democracies often provide less room for technocratic-based policy decisions, and often politically motivated or political loaded with politics policy decisions. I think we need to have more rules for technocrats. How can we assure that? How can we sort of provide that room? Is having more public engagement, more transparency in the policy making process. And that provides more rules for bureaucracy, for technocrats to join in. And the other thing is, civil society needs to also look at political actors in a more neutral way. Because now we are often experiencing people who are less likely to be willing to involve in the political process. I was a university president, so I talked to my students. And one day I was in a canteen having a conversation with my students, and I asked them, once you have graduated, what would you like to do? And I said, I will join business. I'll have my business, I'll go to the professional world, I'll be in the commercial sectors. And then I replied, are you not interested in politics? And then he looked at me in a different way. Politics? This is my rector saying politics? Me going to politics? And I said, no, I'm not interested. No, I'm not politics. So I said, why? Politics is dirty, partner. And I replied, is business clean? I think there is more competitions in the business as much as in politics. And it's not about the sector that will decide. It's about the ethics of how you do it in every sector you're in. And I'm quoting Kofi Annan. They used to say, if the good people only wanted to be good taxpayers, who would be managing our tax money? If the good people only wanted to be good taxpayers, who would be managing our tax money? This is something that we need to encourage leaders to send a message that don't worry, get involved, but maintain your ethics, uphold integrity, and that's how you gain trust. And that's how you grow. The founders, allow me to share some of our history. The founders of this republic, of Indonesia, was the intellectuals of the country at that time. They are coming from the aristocrat family. Why? Because it's them that have the privilege of going to schools and being educated during the colonial period. And these highly educated individuals in a country that were 95% of the population were illiterate. And they have been able to convert modern ideas in the West especially into a new state called Indonesia. They are children of the aristocrat in the country of which with 128 local sultanates, local kingdoms. And they established breakthroughs that we enjoy until today. Number one, accepted one uniting language, which is Bahasa Indonesia. In this archipelago, there were 741 languages. Okay? And if we don't have common languages, we cannot communicate one another. And we agreed. And that one common language was not the language of the majority. It's the language of minority. That was one breakthrough that united the country and the state. Number two, we created a state in which everyone equal before the law. There is no privileged families, there is no privilege toward aristocracy. Yeah. They are treated as cultural heritage, but there is no political consequences. So, these local sultanates and kingdoms were still there as cultural heritage, but they're not automatically serving as governor, they're not automatically serving as local leaders with authority. Who decided this? The children of these families. Okay? This is the kind of politicians we used to have. They are politicians, and often we forgot they are politicians. They're leaders of party. They're political party leaders. I think it is now our responsibility to bring back new generations of leaders with integrity, with visions, and able to translate that into policies that gain the trust of the people. That's our duty today. And that's what I'm also trying to do here. So, going back to the issue of technocrats are some of the challenges. And then there's a questions about English, yeah? English and English. Let me get the questions correct. So you're asking, is English mandatory?
Yeah, why you use English? Because in my country, you're compulsory to use the national language, not the official.
Oh, we don't have rules or regulations on that. So you, as officials, in an official state ceremony, everything has to be in Bahasa Indonesia. In an official state ceremony. In other conversations, you're able to speak according to the need. So even in conferences, in meetings, then any languages is allowed. There is no restrictions on that. And in fact, I'm encouraging more and more to speak more languages for new generations. Because often, this serves as a shield. Unable to speak other languages, then you prevent people from speaking foreign languages. And I think we need to have more ability to speak in various different languages. Mental health, yes. I think health is a challenge, and in big cities like Jakarta, mental health is often a challenge. But if I say the number, then often it's written in the media in a different way. So I better not mention number of those with mental health challenges here in Jakarta. Because when you say health, some people, number of people with mental health challenges, it is a spectrum, right? Spectrum from light to heavy. But we often assume everyone is having a heavy mental problem. So the number is quite big, but again, it's a spectrum. Last questions was peace. How do we deal with the issue of bringing peace? How, in a city like Jakarta, for example, how can we have peace here? How can we make sure that we respect diversity? Indonesia is land of diversity, as you all know. Southeast Asia is home to diversity. But again, I will re-emphasize, what unique about Southeast Asia is not its diversity. What's unique about Indonesia is not its diversity. India is more diverse than us. Afghanistan is more diverse than us. Papua New Guinea is more diverse than us. Look at the numbers of languages in Papua New Guinea, in Afghanistan, in India. They are more diverse. So what's unique about us? What's unique about this is the unity, not only the diversity. We should celebrate unity as much as we celebrate diversity. And that's often overlooked. We spend too much time often on looking at the diversity and not looking at the issue of how we build unity. Yes, preserving diversity is important, but building unity is no less important. I mentioned earlier, what unites this country, two things. Number one was language. Number two was equality. And that's what created the bounding of us. And that is a recipe that we need to continue to develop. What are the recipes today for us to unite? So, going back to the peace, I believe peace is not about the absence of conflict. Peace is about the presence of justice. Peace has never been about absence of conflict, absence of violence. No, peace is about presence of justice. How can we have peace when injustice, inequality is so close to our eyes? Look at those numbers. Those are all inequalities. Those are all recipes for situations that we call unpeaceful. So we are addressing this challenge so that we can have equality, so that we can have the feeling of justice, therefore we will have peace. So peace is end result of this effort of addressing inequality. I am very certain if we are able to address this inequality, then the presence of peace is much easier to get. And the feeling of unity is there. And if you have inequality, and on top of that you have identity along that inequality lines, then you have complications. The issue is not often about identity, the issue is about economic inequality. So we address the economic inequality. And in Indonesia, we grew up with diversity, and multiple identity is part of us. What is not part of us is inequality. In the past, we're equal, in the sense of we're poor. We're equal, so we feel equal. Now, some are going up, some are still in the middle. It's our job. So, if I may suggest, the work on the issue of diversity, please put also more emphasis on developing ways to create unities. Our founders never used the term minorities, never. If you look at our constitutions, our debates never use the word minority, because minority is about size. Diversity is about variations. They're always using the term diversity. Golongan never use the word minorities. It's not that they don't care, it's they consistently understand it's not about size. Because Indonesia is a multi-minority nation. Number two, let's make sure whenever we're talking about peace, what's come to our mind is not absence of violence, but presence of justice. If that's there, then we can proceed for longer term programs, projects. I hope I passed the test.
Come to Jakarta and hear from you directly and have an opportunity to have this engagement with you is an absolute privilege. I want to invite our delegation from the Singapore government to say thank you on behalf of everyone, but a personal thank you from me and all of us present in this room for what you've done for us. Okay.
I personally found it very inspiring and with all of my classmates. Over the last few days, we've seen the vibrant energy in Jakarta. I think under your leadership and your team, we believe that it will fulfill a lot of its potential and go further. And with that, I wish you success in your endeavors. I couldn't